Welcome back to the Siege Mailbox, the video series where you, the viewer, comment your Siege related questions and topic discussions either in the comments or in the special page on my Discord, which you can find linked in the description. Let's waste no time in starting, sub if you haven't already, and the first one is by Aiden, and he asks, do you think the Bishop, who has become 6 for the new generation of Team Rainbow, will become an operator in year 12? He's not only the most motivated, but the most active 6 we have ever seen over the years in Rainbow Six Siege, compared to Harry and Aurelia, joining Dokkaebi and Mute on an operation as seen in the latest anime trailer. Yes, without a doubt in my mind, we will get a playable Bishop. Whether he is the Season 3 operator, which I honestly doubt he is, I still have a feeling that's going to be an Erastus operator, or at some point in year 12, like you said, I do think we're going to get a playable Bishop because it just makes sense on so many fronts. The first is that, well, he was playable in Vegas 2, you've brought him back to the narrative, surely he becomes playable in Siege. Secondly, it'd be really cool to have a playable 6. Thirdly, it makes sense from a marketing standpoint. A lot of people grew up playing the Vegas games. They know of Logan Keller, they know of Bishop, and all the other characters from those two games. It makes sense from a marketing standpoint when you bring back older characters to make them playable. It makes sense to make Bishop a playable character from a marketing standpoint. I mean, we got Solid Snake in this game, and listen, I think Solid Snake was executed extremely well. I thought he was implemented into the universe with so much thought and care, and he genuinely works very well. But obviously, a big part of his integration into the game is marketing. It's to draw new players. I mean, that's not really a surprise to anyone. Having a playable Solid Snake in Siege brought new players to the game. So the same way that, Snake is introduced to bring players, Bishop can be as well. Many people, grew up on Vegas. Not everyone watches the lore either. Actually having Bishop playable will bring new eyes into the game of people who may have played Rainbow Six years and years ago. And I also want to say another thing here as well as to why I think Bishop will be playable. Look at Phobos. I actually think they didn't realize how popular Phobos was going to be, and I do still believe at one point in the future there may be a playable Phobos. I think they could revisit the character through dossiers and logs and stuff like that and make him playable in gameplay. So I feel like they kind of don't want to actually make the same mistake they made with Phobos, because I don't want to say mistake because Phobos served his purpose in the story. He'd done what he needed to do. He filled that void whilst Deimos was in prison, and he expanded the Carries Legion and destroyed Hereford base. Phobos did a lot. But for people outside of the lore, they saw Phobos in the CGIs, saw him as this sick carry soldier after they saw Deimos, which was already a fan favorite character, and they were kind of yearning for him to be a playable operator. And again, I still think they should make him playable, even though he's dead, but I don't think they want to make the same mistake with Bishop as well. Have a really popular lore-based character, and then not make him playable. And I do think it is important to have characters which don't necessarily have to be playable. I think they can exist outside of gameplay, but I mean, especially Phobos as well, I think we've learned from that, even if you think this character is only going to exist for like a year, it may still resonate with people, which, may I add, is just a testament to the writers, the universe team, and the designers. So many people who don't even follow the lore were begging for Phobos to be playable. So that's just a testament to how good the characters they make are. Yes, I still think there should be a playable Phobos, but I think learning from that experience as well, Bishop is 100% going to become playable at some point within, 12 or even 13. This next one is by Scoliosis, and they say, SMG-12 should be like the SMG-11. Low mag, high fire rate, but recoil should also be tweaked. Now, I have a very simple take with the SMG-12. I think some people want to over-nerf it, but I do think it does require somewhat of a nerf. I think the major thing I have with the SMG-12 is its magazine size is just too big. That's it. I don't really want to change all the stuff like you say, because if you just make it like the SMG-11, then what's the point of it being a different weapon? It still has to be its own unique weapon. And I think the issue lays in its magazine size. That mag size is just way too big. It's a secondary weapon, okay? We don't have to nerf its recoil even more or make it do no damage. It should still be used to kill people. It should be a weapon you can rely on after you switch from your primary weapon. However, the issue with the SMG-12 right now is that its magazine size is so damn big that you're able to sometimes take a 1v3 without having to reload, depending on how well you hit your shots. And, I mean, that can be said about every other weapon, yes, but you have to remember, this is a secondary weapon. In my honest opinion, you should be able to take out one enemy minimum with this weapon before having to reload. This should be a weapon that after you've done chip damage with your primary and you don't have time to reload, you switch to this and it can still be reliable for you to finish off the kill. It shouldn't be unusable, it shouldn't be nerfed into the ground, but in its current state, it just has way too much going for it. The fire rate mixed with that high magazine allows you to take way too many engagements before you even have to reload the magazine. I think that is a major issue with the SMG-12. As well as this, I think some of the operator distribution of this weapon is silly. I know it entered the game with Dokkaebi, but Dokkaebi shouldn't have this gun. Dokkaebi is already oppressive enough both before her remaster and post remaster. She doesn't need the SMG-12. I'm sorry to the Dokkaebi mains, Dokkaebi doesn't need this weapon. Low-key, same with Vigil as well. I think a weapon of this caliber should kind of be reserved for one-speed operators. I don't think you should be able to swing corners so fast with this. So I think all those aspects come together to make this weapon in a bit of a broken state. I don't think you need to do major groundbreaking nerfs to it because then it's not fun to use, but there is definitely tweaks that need to happen and it is not sitting in the correct position in my opinion. This is actually a really good question by Octena. What operators other than Striker do you think will get the new secondary gadget? I think Ayana would be good for extra intel. So what Octena is referring to here is the new attacker secondary gadget that was teased to be coming in season 4, which is a drone with a deployable shield on it. So what it seems to be is that the front of this drone will be bulletproof, so you can place it in drone holes, for example, and defenders cannot shoot it, they'll have to blow it up. At least that's what it seems. I have no insider knowledge, I'm just basing it off the concept Ubisoft officially shared. One of the things I can think of is that drone hole in the bottom floor by the elevator on Bank. You place it in the drone hole, it has a bulletproof front-facing shield, and defenders will have to find an alternative way to clear it whilst you're able to get intel for the attacking team. I think it's an interesting idea of what they're doing with this gadget, and hopefully it goes through the end process looking like this. But what operator should get this is a really important question. Striker, obviously, because it is going to be a secondary gadget. Ayana, I agree with. I think that makes sense for her intel role. Honestly, I think many of the intel operators should have this. Like, I think Zero, but that would be giving him even more cameras. Lion would definitely be fun for this as well. I think Monty, this would work great in his loadout, but you would obviously be substituting like a hard breach or an EMP, so you do have that trade-off. You know, maybe Callie, I can kind of see this working in Callie's loadout as well. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what operators they give this to. I imagine this is going to be quite a hard discussion because you are also giving these operators an extra drone when you think about it. So yeah, that's actually a really great question. You sparked quite an interesting conversation. I like Ayana though. Ayana I think is a definite, but I'll extend the question to you guys. What operators on attack do you think should get this new secondary gadget in season 4? This next one is by Who, and they say, how do you think each of the faction leaders of the Keres Legion are named, / how are they related to each other namesake-wise? Whilst Deimos and Phobos being moons makes sense, how does Nyx fit in there? So all of the Keres Legion's naming is based on Greek mythology. Deimos and Phobos are the moons of Mars, but also the name of Greek gods. In Greek mythology, Keres were female death spirits, so the entire group itself is based in that Greek mythology. And in Greek mythology, Nyx is the goddess and personification of the night, and is the offspring of chaos. So with Deimos, Phobos, Nyx, and any potential other Keres Legion member we see in the future, it is all part of this Greek mythology, and of course there's a lot of symbolism as well with both what the gods themselves represents and what these individuals themselves in the Keres Legion are doing and the havoc they are causing. Especially since we know that she is quite knowledgeable in tech and almost caused a disaster, the fact that she is the personification of the night, you know, tech blackout, I feel like there is some imagery presented there with her name and also her power over computers, technology. She's like an evil Dokkaebi, I guess. So yeah, Nyx is a really cool name, and I hope we get to see more of her. Pretty cool. So this next one is by Millie. It's quite long, so I'm not going to read all of it out, but basically what they're saying is the Striker and Sentry should have one of each gun type, AR, SMG, shotgun, etc. And like, yeah, I agree. I think they should be the Swiss Army knife and have a much more diverse loadout than they currently have. I think their loadout is diverse, but it still feels pretty much like an operator. And like, I know they are technically an operator, but they need to feel a bit different. I'm actually kind of surprised that Striker didn't get the new assault rifle, for example, the XK23. Yes, she has the M4, but who cares? Just give her the new assault rifle. She's a recruit. Like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of times, especially when we get new weapons, where they should go to these recruits. And I understand there is balancing there as well, but also, if you want to have this Swiss Army knife of an attacker and defender, give us a more diverse loadout, you know what I mean? I think we should have way more options for Striker and Sentry. I think there's always more you can do with them. I think they're very good. I think they're very strong ops, but I don't think any of them are oppressive. So I don't think giving them these loadouts would be oppressive either. I think the only thing you have to do watch out with Striker right now is the ballistic shield, and you do mention that. But I'd like to see how it works with, you know, the new shield counter in Season 3, because Season 3 is actually going to be a very vital season for shields. That may be the make or break if we ever get another shield again, is how strong the Season 3 operator is. So yeah, but I agree. I do want to see more loadouts come to them. This person doesn't really have a name, but they say, what other operators do you hope to see in the future? Either gimmicks or other game characters. So when it comes to characters outside of the Rainbow Six franchise, I'm not really clamoring for more. I think Snake was a risk that paid off, and he does fit into the universe very well. I don't want this to become Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Smash Brothers. I think Snake's fine. I think the crossover skins are fine as well, because they're just, you know, skins. But you also have to remember that these operators are implemented into the narrative as well. So I don't really want to see the narrative as well filled with a bunch of crossover operators, because I feel that kind of dampens the universe which they've built and all these brand new unique characters that we're still getting. Like, one of my favorite characters, both gameplay and narrative-wise, is Denari, and he is a brand new character built from the ground up for both gameplay and lore. And again, not to downplay Snake, but I like these new characters. I like seeing what this universe can offer, and I don't think everything always has to be a crossover. I like Snake. I'll allow Snake. I think that works really fine. And he also had that connection to Sam Fisher, so it worked. I mean, I have said that, like, yeah, I guess maybe Aiden Pierce could work as well. It is a Ubisoft IP, X, Y, and Z. But I think we should just focus on original characters. I think that's the most important thing, because that's how you get these iconic characters, is by making new ones and stuff like that. When it comes to the actual gimmicks, I would like to see a hacker on defense. I know Mozzie's kind of a hacker on defense, but I want to see a more, you know, pushed forward version of being able to hack on defense. Like, you know, when you hack a Brava drone as Mozzie and you're able to hack a bunch of those attacker gadgets, that's a really cool interaction that we never get to see, because that is such a niche thing. Because you need a Mozzie on the board, you need a Brava on the board, you then need Brava to drive into it, you then need the attackers not to shoot that hacked one, and then you'd have to actually have gadgets to hack. There are so many different hurdles in the way for you to be able to pull off that sort of Brava Mozzie combo that it just never happens. So I think if we can get a defender who can actually focus on hacking attacker gadgets, like, I don't know, claymores, like other things as well, you know, maybe even reverse hack like a thermite charge and cause it to blow up. I don't know. Maybe like a reverse Dokkaebi. That's what I'm kind of going for here. I think there's a lot you could really do with hacking, so I'd like to see it kind of implemented more on the defensive side personally. This next one is by Preacher, and they say, Ubisoft have committed to doing a lot to please the players going forward. Do you think this is going to overcomplicate the game, make operators too strong, and cause developer burnout? So this is actually a very interesting question. The first one, do you think it's going to overcomplicate the game? No, not really. I think one of the biggest things in this game, and one of the biggest joys I had when I first picked up this game, was learning everything. And with constant operators and stuff like that, it's gonna, you know, people aren't stupid, you know what I mean? People enjoy learning stuff. Despite what some people may say when they get slammed and stuff like that, there is a part of your brain that enjoys that. You enjoy what is unknown and being able to then exploit that to your own benefit. People enjoy that. That is a big part of Siege. People don't verbally say that, but they do. That's why you still get new players to this day who will go on to master the game. That learning curve, yes, although it may be big, doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad thing. So I don't think it'll overcomplicate the game, to say it in that sense. Will it make operators too strong? To a certain extent, that is a concern of mine, because I agree with their new philosophy of buffing as much as possible, but there are some operators who severely need a nerf. I mean, I think Dokkaebi needs a little bit of a change. I think there should be a spam reduction. I think the ACOG DMRs on defense are just completely silly, and again, plays into the wrong playstyle of the game and are an oppressive crutch weapon. I think there's a lot of stuff that does need nerfed in Siege, but of course, when you say nerf, there's so many negative connotations like that, and Ubisoft do want to, you know, make the player base happy. And granted, they have been nerfing stuff, but I do think they could have done a lot more nerfs over the past few patches. Like, there's been so many good buffs that implementing some nerfs in there, I don't think would have had much of an impact. Like, if you tone down some weapons, if you maybe rearrange some stuff, and I think there's some good ways of doing it, like with a Rooney and Tuberau. I don't think they should have those DMRs. I simply don't think those weapons should exist on the defensive side, ACOG or not. I simply don't. But if they were to tweak that, whether they remove them, whether they remove the ACOGs, they should give them compensation buffs or tweaks to go with that, so it lessens the blow. So I do think there is some nerfs that I think is needed, and I hope that they aren't pressured by opinions of community to nerf stuff. I don't think they will be, and I think as long as you still have substantial buffs on top of that, people will be able to accept that. But yeah, there is a little bit where I'm kind of like, okay, I'm liking these buffs, I'm happy to keep them going, but there are a few things that we need to change here. And granted, they did say they are looking into some stuff. The next thing you're talking about is developer burnout. Listen, that's entirely down to how the team is managed, how the game is structured, how resources are developed and stuff like that. I think a big thing to stop burnout was removing Dillfront. Unfortunately, that mode couldn't exist without taking resources away from Core Siege. In my perfect universe, both of those game modes would have their own resources and have no effect on each other, but unfortunately, that's not the universe we lived in, so one of them had to get culled to focus on the other. But when it comes to developer burnout, again, that just has to be the management of Ubisoft. Developers should be in a comfortable position to make this content going forward, to have, I don't know, one new map a year plus reworks, to have 4 operators a year, 1 per season going into year 12. They should be able to do that stuff at a sustainable rate if it's managed correctly. And I imagine that with the whole Tencent merger and stuff like that, they will have resources and stuff like, you know, this isn't a spur of the moment thing. They will plan for this stuff. So yeah, as long as the devs are in a good spot, which hopefully they will be, I think we can continue in a sustainable way. Yeah. This next one is by Low-Key Deimos had a point, and they ask, okay, so my question is, in the battle pass, when Fenrir is talking to Buck, saying he spent the last 2 years in a pine forest, is this implying that he moved to Canada with Frost and it could possibly be officially dating? So I don't actually know if Frost has anything to do with this. However, although I didn't initially catch this when I done my review of the Battle Pass lore, the whole thing that was actually happening with Fenrir and Buck, and this is confirmed, but it is that Fenrir is actually hiding out, living in this pine forest, because technically he's not really got anywhere to go. And it seems that after the collapse of Rainbow, he was kind of having to live off the grid, seemingly for his own protection. You know, with the Carries Legion out there, I don't know if there's any legal scrutiny he may face as well. Fenrir ended up in that bit of a gray area, similar to Dokkaebi, but I guess a bit worse. So the whole thing with him living in the, you know, pine forest and Buck dropping off a pair of binoculars, it's actually Fenrir living off the grid and hiding, and Buck is helping him. You know, Buck was one of those people who actually took Fenrir on board. He'd done his interrogation alongside Thermite and would give him clearance to allow him to join. And Buck has always trusted Fenrir. So after Rainbow collapsed, Fenrir, bit of a weird situation there. You're a defector from the Carries Legion. People already kind of didn't trust you. Thermite took you in his judgment. What happens when that entire structure that was supporting you is completely gone? He's living in a pine forest now, and Buck is helping him out, and he's living off the grid. So yeah, I didn't initially catch that, but makes so much sense, and it's actually a really interesting story there. Right, this next one is by Righteous Calamity, and they ask, do you think we'll ever get R6 mobile weapons in normal Siege? Yes, so of course, R6 mobile does have some unique weapons. For example, Deimos has a completely unique primary weapon in R6 mobile, and it's a lever action rifle called the Reeves 73, and based on Bass Reeves and a lot of Deimos' lore and stuff like that. It's a homage to his story, and it's a completely different weapon which we've never seen in Rainbow Six Siege. And Climate is asking, do you think we'll ever see weapons like this and some of the other unique weapons in Siege itself? And I guess that kind of just comes down to if players want it or not. We always get new weapons in Siege. It's became a norm now, like the XK23 in this season and stuff like that. And of course, with new operators going forward, we're also going to have new weapons introduced to the game. So they have a team who makes brand new weapons. They conceive them and stuff like that. I guess it just comes down to, I mean, do we want a lever action in Siege? Do we want a different weapon? You know, Rainbow Six and mobile and Siege can be two separate entities, and if, you know, mobile introduces something that players like, it may get implemented into Siege and vice versa. So it just kind of comes down to, you know, we are confirmed to always be getting the, well, not always be getting the weapons, but, you know, there is going to be more new weapons on the horizon. Do you want it to be the ones you've seen in mobile, or should they just do something brand new? That's kind of all it comes down to. If everyone is clamoring for a lever action rifle in Siege, then yeah, maybe. But I mean, look at Siege itself. We've got DMRs. Does it serve a different purpose than a DMR? Do you hold it down and it automatically shoots? Is that better than an AK on Deimos? They're two different games. It's not as just simple as porting it over. It has to be made from the ground up, you know, etc. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Mailbox. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, sub if you haven't already. If you want to appear in the next one, make sure you drop your question/topic in the comments below, or join the Discord server. It is also linked in the description. Have an incredible rest of your day, drink some water, and yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a good one. See ya.